All right, Stevie in Texas. Stevie in Texas, you are on the line with Jimmy and Ari. It says you're also a theist. I wonder, because I don't think the thing you called in on will take much time. Are you also MAGA?
I don't consider myself MAGA, but I would say that a lot of my beliefs line up with that party.
Sure. How old are you, Stevie?
34.
Okay. So you've been able to vote in every election since what? Obama? Well, actually, were you able to vote in
2012?
Were you able to vote in 2008?
I was able to
34. I
vote
guess
in
you
the
missed 2008.
Yeah, 2008. I was not able to vote.
Okay, but since then. All right. So as far as voting wise, did you vote for Trump 3 times?
Yes.
Okay. And before that, you voted for Romney? And you voted in all of them, not just that's who you would have supported. You actually engaged and went and cast those votes.
Yeah, I did. I did go and vote.
Word. What religion are you? It says you're a theist. You're a Texas theist.
I'm a Christian.
I'm going to just go out on a limb and say Christian, but which Christian are you?
The biblical one.
Great. So which one's that?
The one that's
Steve,
basically I believe what the Bible says.
Just say the name of the
Stevie, I don't have a denomination, so I would say non-denominational.
Okay. Non-denominational. That's fine. Literally every single Christian of every type of Christian, literally Mormons would have answered the way you initially answered. That's why I was asking you to be more specific.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be evasive. I didn't realize that everybody says that.
Yes, including Mormons. Mormons, in fact, believe they're the only ones really living the Bible and believing it. All right, so Stevie, what is your question for me? And then we may explore some other topics.
Yeah, I just, I was listening to the show and I wasn't going to call in, but then I heard you mention that human life has value. And so I'm just curious. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't sure if you were, a Christian yourself or not.
I was, yeah. I was a Mormon and then a Christian, and now I am an atheist, a strong atheist.
So
Not only do I not believe in God, I believe you can make a very clear case where the most reasonable conclusion is that gods don't exist.
So you're what's called a hard atheist, which means you have evidence against God.
Strong atheist is what I use, but yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, how do you, as a strong atheist, how do you justify saying that a human life has value?
Sure. Like all moral frameworks and like all value systems, they're all subjective. So what I'm justifying is that I have the most defensible position, which is secular humanism. Secular humanism, while not actually inherently a human supremacy system, isn't incompatible even with human supremacy. That's how high it values human life. But there are people who extend it out to like sentient beings. There are secular humanists who are vegans. That's not incompatible. So you can't say it's inherent. But it's at least attached. And where that comes from will have been a development of empathy, our natural development of empathy, which we have. It will be the experience of having life and recognizing the value of my life, and and then evaluating that against human life across the spectrum and where it would compare to other things. Keep in mind, when you say I said human life has value, I didn't only say human life had value. I said it had more value than the bricks, which implies the bricks also have value too. So you're talking about a tiered system of value. And then you can put a comprehensive, some will call it a philosophical or academic case on the value of that which is conscious, because only things which are conscious can consider value, especially if they then have sentience and the faculties which allow them to logic things out. And so the concept of value in and of itself is inherently subjective because it is limited to only those beings. And so again, it's not difficult. We define what the word value means, and then we try to defend that which qualifies more or less in it. It's, if anything, I would argue that it is much more defensible than, for example, the Christian assignment of value, which is so often very racist, very sexist, very elitist, and in this country, very capitalist, very classist, very ethnicist. Take your pick.
So, I mean, if it's subjective, then that just means that it's your opinion, right?
Not quite. You can say it's subjective in that it is. So, for example, pain is subjective, right, Stevie? I have a subjective experience of pain, but the pain is either can still be objectively occurring or not. So I would say my moral system of secular humanism, while it is subjective in that I have to defend why it is superior to others, then still continues on the objective definitions of whether or not those standards are being met. But if
So
you just
you
mean,
can't
is
say that
morality
it's true,
subjective?
right?
Yes, of course it is. Your morality is subjective as a Christian. Everybody's morality is subjective. And so whether it is subjective doesn't mean it is the most defensible. To somebody like Andrew we talked about earlier, who is an actual sociopath, you are going to have a difficult time using empathy as a method by which to appeal. So you have to make a purely secular argument outside of empathy. However, you still can do so, because if you're valuing human well-being the most, an individual tends to not even need empathy to say, my well-being is important to me. I think, therefore I am. Being in pain is less preferable to not being in pain, those sorts of experiences. And you can appeal to those still with a secular humanist system, but participating in a system that works the best for everyone is also best for the individual.
So can you say the statement, it is true that hurting someone is wrong?
Certainly.
So you do believe in moral truth then?
Of course, I told you I'm a secular humanist. What you mean to say is, can you say that it is true that hurting somebody is wrong at every single scale of the universe? No, no one can. But I can say it is true that hurting somebody is wrong because I am a secular humanist, and that moral system.
You do realize that people have different moral systems. You do realize that
I do, and I believe, and as I said, I believe mine is the most defensible.
Have different opinions.
Correct. Yep.
So why is your opinion more valuable than somebody else's?
As I already stated, we're kind of looping back because it is more defensible. I'm not saying it's inherently more valuable, that because, for example, I have the endorsement of some guy who's in the sky controlling everything, and just trust me, bro, you can't meet him, but I have his endorsement. Instead of that, I actually have to break down how it benefits the individual who is born the same way we are all born, with the sort of drive to live and thrive, how it is the most beneficial to an individual and the world in general, to people broadly. That is why it is more valid, because I can put up the precepts. Because keep in mind, even for this, Stevie, and this isn't a dig on you, this is how it always comes. You come to me to argue that my moral system is invalid, putting it up against the existential idea of what would make it valid in general. Instead of, because this is where a Christian will lose every time, here's a value of Christianity and here's a value of secular humanism. Which one of the values is better? It's kind of like the solipsistic bullshit people do, where they're like, well, if you're questioning whether Christianity is true, the most reasonable thing to now do is go, how do we know anything is true? Rather than go like, okay, which has more evidence for it, that the earth is billions of years old or that it is 6,000 years old? If I was a Christian defending 6,000 years old, I'd way rather than engage the question of whether the universe even exists at all and try and get very, what is the word? Like overly complicated, very sophist. I would way rather go with that than I would go with, here's the evidence that 6,000 years is good, and here's the evidence that billions of years for the earth is good. And so I think in your position, it is natural to you to go, I'd rather put up your system of human thriving, taking care of people. Obviously, it's what makes me a socialist. It's what makes me a humanist. It's what makes me think we take care of everybody else. I'd way rather fight that with the existential thing of how do you justify anything with no God than say, but isn't my Bible, which literally endorses rape, slavery, like chattel slavery, as well as what you guys think is also okay, indentured servitude? No, it isn't. I'm sorry, sir. No, it isn't.
Wait,
and I can give you the examples. I know
totally,
the Bible.
Very
unfortunately for you, the reason why I'm an atheist is I actually read the Bible. So which thing would you like to go ahead and say? Would you like me to show you the time where God commands people to rape?
I would like to, we can do that. That's fine. But I'd like to finish this topic first. I mean,
yeah, let's do that. And then we'll go with what you said was false.
You're dressing it up, in nice fancy wording, but the truth is you're saying morality is subjective, which means
yes,
yours is. You have no standard that you are using, because what you said is your position is more morally defensible.
Correct.
Based on what truth?
No, that's fine enough. Morally defensible is not technically correct, because you wouldn't defend a moral system where you're saying, like, on the outside, let's say you have two laws. You wouldn't call it, this one's more legally defensible. You would use some other standard. And so my standard would be appealing to like human thriving. But whatever, I'm fine with your terminology. Yes, my morality as a secular humanist is more defensible to be adopted as a morality than any other moral system. That is my assertion.
So you're saying that hurting people or killing people it goes against the moral good of the society? Or how would you phrase that?
No, you're adding the word moral to that, and I can make it without using the word moral. But against the wellness and thriving of a society, that unjust killing, certainly, I think there are times where killing is unfortunately necessary, mostly like in self-defense to protect somebody, certainly not to stop an empty building from being burned down. But yeah, I do. And we also have the advantage here, Stevie, of we weren't born yesterday. We literally have thousands of years of history that we can look through and go, hey, here is what these societies that looked like in the past ended up looking like based on these moral systems. And the axioms that I have to appeal to are mild, like life is preferable to death. Right? That's not a difficult to justify and reassert, but you can call it a presupposition because it's an axiom. Why is life preferable to death to the individual who's alive? Thousands of years of evolution to hardwire our brain to be that way.
Yeah, but most people in society fear the idea of death.
But maybe that person's their own life, but I'm talking about other life. Like, why is let's just get out of yourself instead of thinking about your own life. I'm talking about the society, the life of the society.
So then you're describing utilizing empathy over thousands of years, as I just mentioned the framework. Over thousands of years, we found this to be true of everyone, that life is preferable to death. Being alive is preferable to not being alive. Not suffering is preferable to suffering. And that these are universal truths you can find throughout society. And that, in fact, a lot of where society breaks down is where the suffering of a small group of people is prioritized. Actually, their thriving is prioritized over sufferings of huge groups of people.
Okay, but you admit that people do disagree with you. Like, I'm sure
of course, I'm aware that most people are not secular humanists because most people have been programmed by a tradition that has failed them over and over and over again. And then they call into shows not knowing what their own Bible says. But when they're surprised to hear something, they say something like, that's not true, despite the fact they actually don't know what's in the Bible. Because anybody who knows the Bible, I don't think would make such a silly claim.
I know the Bible more than you do, but
Stevie, I guarantee you that you don't. Okay, great. Stevie, since you know me better, since you know it better, when I say God has commanded people to rape, what verse am I referring to?
You're probably referring to 2 Samuel?
Nope.
Okay, then that's fine. I mean, I want to finish our conversation. I want to get to a stopping point here.
Stevie, you're the one who asserted you know the Bible better than me, and I assert that I know it better than you. Sir, I think you'd be an atheist if you did.
I was an atheist before. So, anyways,
you weren't a skeptic. Also,
so I think we can both agree that
atheists aren't automatically good people or skeptical, and you clearly aren't skeptical.
I think we could probably both agree, though, that your morals are, everybody has different morals. So if your standard is coming from yourself, then other people their standard is going to be coming from their self. So
my standard is articulated by myself. Truth. However, it is very much a group effort that has developed over thousands of years. At best, it is that there is a pretty concrete standard that I may fail to meet up to at times. I'm not perfect, so I won't always meet the standard. I will fail even against my own moral standard. You should be familiar with that. You guys call it sin. We don't call it sin because we're not superstitious. But I may fail to meet my own moral standard, but the standard itself isn't so loose. It's just then as an individual, as a human, I'm capable of imperfect interpretation.
It sounds like you're borrowing from God, but you don't want to give him the credit.
Right. Those are words a person. Hang on. Stevie, those are words a person can say in order. I can also say meep, mort, boop, beep, and it will mean the same amount of something.
I don't know that makes much sense, but
well, what you said made no sense. You haven't proven a God exists to borrow from. You're asserting, you're presupposing he exists. That is not a justifiable axiom. Justifiable axioms confirm themselves after the fact. He has done no such thing. And so you're just sitting there and going like, you're borrowing from God. Great. Show me the God. I'll hand it back to him.
Well, I mean, how long do you have? Do you have about 8 hours to talk about all this, or do you want to stick to one topic?
No, I don't. That is a beautiful beautiful cop out. First of all, the next show, Chewed Gum, starts in an hour and 12 minutes. I'm not going to encroach on theirs, but what a silly cop out that you think that in 8 hours, if it only takes you 8 hours to prove a God exists, please go collect your Nobel Prize. My goodness.
Jimmy, I could literally talk to you for an hour on each of these topics. So
great.
If you want to go that route.
Hey, Stevie, I could talk to you 2 hours on each of these topics.
Which topic would you prefer?
6 hours. I don't know. We were doing an hour measuring bid contest, so I wasn't positive.
Can you show me the verse where God is saying that slavery is good? Where's that verse?
You said slavery is good. God says at the very least slavery is permissible. And
it's
actually
allowed.
Commands them to take sex slaves in one case. We can hit rape and slaves at the same time if you like.
It even walks through the process of how to get out of being a slave, which never actually happens, even in the Bible.
Nowhere in the Bible does the Bible condone slavery. Nowhere in the Bible does it say slavery is good. Nowhere in the Bible does it command anybody to take slaves.
Yes, it does.
Please give me the chapter and verse.
Great. Deuteronomy 21. What happens in Deuteronomy 21? Since you know this so much better than me, right? By the way, which version of the Bible are you reading?
I have the Bible memorized.
To not know Deuteronomy 21, though, it's like, goodness sakes, that you're pretending that you're having these conversations so much. That's crazy to me. But anyway, Deuteronomy 20, which version of the Bible are you using? I want to make sure I have your version up.
The NASB.
NASB.
21 chapter or verse what?
Hang on, I'm pulling up your Bible. I think we're going to be starting at verse 10. And we're going with sex slaves just to cover both the rape and the slavery at the same time for you.
Would you like me to go ahead and read?
Oh, I'm going to do it. I like my own voice more than yours. People tell me all the time. But I pulled up your Bible, so surely you'll be like it. When you go out to battle, actually, and by the way, this is the law that follows the commandment. There was first the slaughter. I assume, hey, what happened, Stevie? So we can set the stage before we do these verses. Would you remind the people what happened with the Midianites when the Israelites fought the Midianites and they came back with captives? What did God command through Moses that happened to the Midianites? Could you go ahead and just fill everybody in on that real quick?
I believe he told him to wipe them out.
Yeah, he said, all these captives you took, what the fuck is wrong with you? Kill everyone alive, all of them, except for who? Who did he say to keep?
Let me think here. I read this probably a few weeks ago.
Definitely think.
Here. Who did he say to keep, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't remember. Enlighten me. Tell me.
I bet you could guess. Think about where we are right now. So they're already committing genocide. They're killing the fuck out of them. But actually, somehow the soldiers were like, guys, everybody, you want us to kill the babies, the moms? We'll kill the soldiers, but we just went ahead and didn't kill absolutely everybody. So God says, go ahead, kill everybody except who?
We gotta stay focused here, Jimmy. You keep bringing in all these other things.
No. This is extremely important. This is literally the answer to your original question.
I'm asking you.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay,
I read this. Unlike you, I don't like.
You don't study the Bible. I know. Unlike me, you don't study the Bible.
I don't meditate on Deuteronomy and all these other. I look
know.
at the
You cherry
entire
part. You cherry. I get it. You cherry pick the parts that make you feel good. I get it. So I'm going to read you Numbers 31 first. I'm going to read you number 31 first. Now, therefore, this is like the what the fuck? You didn't kill everybody. This is what God has to say.
31.
Now, therefore,
you're moving to a different verse. Which verse?
I'm starting here. I'm reading it to you. You can go check it after if you need to. I'm going to read you word for word from the NASB. I don't have to change a word, but if you need to, go ahead. Now, therefore,
I know, but I'm saying, okay, you're at 21.
We're doing Numbers first because then the verse that comes after will clarify this, that we are talking about sex slavery. Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones and kill every woman who has known a man intimately. However, all the girls who have not known a man intimately, keep alive for yourselves. Now, what is that verse commanding them to do with those virgins? What does it mean to keep alive for yourself?
It's just saying take them back, keep them alive. I mean,
and do what? And do what with them? Wait, Stevie. And do what with them? Are you going to pretend it doesn't mean more?
Maybe I don't know. Marry them?
Next verse. Marry them. Got it. Marry them. And by the way, remind me back then, how did you marry an individual?
Paid their father.
Well, there's no fathers because remember in the verse prior, they murdered everybody. So how do you marry somebody?
I mean, we could talk I can talk for an hour on each one of these topics.
Great,
I'm still
Stevie,
waiting for
right
you.
now we're talking on this topic, so please answer the question.
Now we're switching to a different topic here.
No, we're not. I'm going to mute you. You wanted the chapter and verse where he commands sexual slavery. We're about to get to the clarification because you are pretending that isn't what happened here and you think you have an out because it wasn't in that verse. So I might even have you read the Deuteronomy one because it will be more fun. But I want to know, since you know the Bible better than me, are you definitively saying keep alive for yourselves is not in any way describing have sex with them regardless of if they consent?
Where does it say have sex or rape them? Show me that verse.
Okay, are you saying, before I do, are you here definitively saying, excuse me, Stevie, before I show you that verse, are you here definitively saying that is not what this is indicating and that when I said earlier, the Bible does condone rape and slavery, if I do now show you the verse, you will both revoke that and admit that the Bible has an immoral thing in it because that was your thing. The Bible isn't bad because it does not condone rape. It does not command rape. It does not condone or command slavery. So if I now give you the verse that clarifies what we're talking about here, and it does, you will admit you were wrong and that the Bible is immoral, correct?
So you have a verse that says that
answer my question and I'll answer yours. Answer my question and I'll answer yours.
That verse is not in there.
If the verse exists, if it exists, will you admit you were wrong and that the Bible is immoral?
No, I want you to show me the verse. I'm not going to play games.
Great. I am going to show you the verse. I will show you the verse as soon as you answer this question. If I show you the verse, If I show you the verse, will you admit the Bible is immoral and that you were wrong?
I have to see the verse to answer that question.
Great.
Because
if
we have to
if
look
you see the verse and the verse does that, if you see the verse and the verse does command,
raping on their own, that is not
Jesus
God
Christ
condoning rape.
If
you have to show me the verse, is it there or not?
If the commandment, great. So now I'm going to ask the question for the 90th time. If the commandment from God exists to have sex with the woman, bypassing her consent and subject her to your servitude, will you admit, if that's what the verse says, that you are wrong and the Bible is immoral? You can go ahead and say no, you're going to squirm your way out of it. I just want to make sure we have that on the record beforehand before you start doing the little squirmies you're going to do. But if it says that, will you admit you are wrong?
I know the Bible. There is nowhere does it say to rape the woman. Nowhere does it say that.
Stevie, I'm muting you again. There are zero stakes. If you're right and it doesn't say that, you don't have to worry about saying, yes, if it says that, I'll admit I was wrong and that the Bible is immoral. But you won't say that because you're worried it's about to say it. So Stevie, if you won't even acknowledge that, why should I even let you rebut it all? Why not just be like, either just say yes, if it actually says that, you'll admit you were wrong and the Bible is immoral because you're so confident it doesn't say that. Why not just go with that? I'm going to give the verse either way. So why not just answer the question?
I'm not going to say anything without seeing the verse. So if you want to show me, like I said, I'm not.
If the verse doesn't say it,
if you don't want to have this conversation, then hang up on
me. Stevie, if the verse doesn't say it, if the verse doesn't say it, all you'll have to say is the verse doesn't say that. So I'm not admitting I was wrong. These are your options. I asked you specifically, if the verse says it, will you admit you are wrong and the Bible is immoral? And you are unable because you are morally bankrupt because of this Bible that you're holding yourself hostage to say, yes, if the Bible says, without the consent of the woman, have sex with her and subject her to servitude, I will admit I was wrong and the Bible is immoral.
What's the verse so we can move on? I don't want to continue wasting time.
Will you say that or no?
I'll admit that I'm wrong if the verse is there, but it's not there.
And you will admit that the Bible is immoral, correct?
It depends on the context of the verse. That's what I'm saying.
It depends on the context of the verse, Stevie. Great.
All
right, Stevie. Then I'm just going to you are not engaging honestly. We are. Again, I'm more the one who does the theology calls. So I'm going to mute you and I'm going to read it off, but I'm actually going to be a dick and not let you defend your position because you are being such an obfuscating, dishonest little asshole right now. You're trying to hedge all these bets. So I'm going to read it to you. And by the way, here's the joke of it all. I already gave you the verse. You just weren't paying attention. So Numbers, to recap for everybody, Numbers 31, 17 and 18 says, now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones and kill every woman who has known a man intimately. However, all the girls who have not known a man intimately, keep alive for yourself. It is essentially saying any woman that you believe, and by the way, remember that they used outdated virgin. They confirmed the existence of the hymen back then. That was how they figured out, which we now know biologically doesn't work. So they also killed a lot of virgins. They also killed a lot of 1-year-olds. They also killed a lot of babies. In fact, in this very verse, God is supporting abortions because he is killing mothers who are pregnant. The only people who are allowed to be left alive are girls who have not known a man. Now, if we go back to the verse I already gave, which is in Deuteronomy, it is in chapter 21. I think it starts at verse 14. I will have to double check. Nope, it actually starts at verse 10. This is the verse that clarifies what that means when you take a girl as a captive, quote unquote, for yourself. In fact, in the version of the Bible that he demanded we use, it literally right before that calls these verses domestic relations, which when you hear them should make you want to throw up. When you go out to battle against your enemies and the Lord your God hands them over to you and you take them away captive and you see amongst the captives a beautiful woman. Oh, by the way, Stevie has left because he was terrified to hear this. Thank you for your concession, Steve. Anyway, when you see amongst the captives a beautiful woman and are strongly attracted to her and would take her as a wife for yourself, then you shall bring her into your home, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails. She shall also, by the way, the verse gets worse, but do keep in mind, this is a captive. You go and you take her as your wife. Not you ask. There is zero place here, and in fact, it will be reaffirmed here.
Literally.
She doesn't get a say. She does not get to decline. However, I have some good news. At the end of verse 14, there is a chance she will be free to do whatever she wants. But one thing has to happen first. Then you shall bring her into your home. She shall shave her head and trim her nails. She shall also remove the clothes of her captivity and shall remain in your house and weep for her father and mother a full month. Now, in other versions, it says 40 days, but whatever, for a full month. And after that, you may have relations with her and become her husband, and she shall be your wife. Not she may, she shall. There's a reason why it's may for the man and shall. And by the way, again, biblical times, to consummate a marriage, you fucked them. In fact, there are other verses here in Deuteronomy where if you rape a woman that is not promised to another man, you just have to pay the father and she becomes your wife. Now, there is some indication that the father could decline that. However, back in that society, would have been discouraged from doing so because as what is called a humiliated woman, a woman who's no longer a virgin, she would no longer be able to be married off. By the way, also, if you just happen to be a person from a family that is economically advantageous to bond your families, that rape would almost be considered by a lot of the fathers kind of dope. So that's where we are, just giving you that little additional context. But here's where the freedom comes, people. You'll take her, you'll have relations, become her husband, she'll be your wife. But it shall be, if you are not pleased with her, then you shall let her go wherever she wishes. And you certainly shall not sell her for money. You shall not treat her as merchandise, since you have humiliated her. In other words, the only women you can set free are the ones you have already taken away their ability. That's what humiliated means. Their ability to marry somebody else because they're no longer a virgin. So she's a humiliated woman who is now allowed to go off free and go wherever she wishes in the society that literally killed her father, her mother, her siblings, her grandparents, I would say potentially her kids, but that would have meant she had known a child, unless she was Mary. Literally, this Bible verse, these verses say exactly what I said they say. That you kill all the family, kill everybody except the virgin girls. By the way, no age cap on that. Did you notice? If you think one of them's hot, you take them, you rape them. If post-rape, you aren't satisfied and want to keep them around, no violation to you, the fact that you're not a virgin because you're a man. Send her on her way. By the way, doesn't say that it changes if she's pregnant either, which we already know God's kind of that way. I don't know if y'all know the story about the story of Abraham and what happened with the handmaiden. But yeah, you're not really obligated to the ones that you made pregnant either. So this literally says exactly what I said it did. And yet this is why he would not commit to, if it says that, I will admit I was wrong and the Bible's immoral. And to the person who said, Jimmy, stop interrupting yourself, let yourself speak.
What?
Fuck you. Yeah,
ADHD brain. ADHD brain.
I don't have ADHD. I only have autism.
Okay, well, I might just have a mix of everything. I don't know anymore. But yeah, he needed it to specifically say the word rape. And then that's the only way he would make a concession, which is just, again, it's being intellectually dishonest. And it's similar enough, like, I don't necessarily agree with the arguments where people are like, well, that's the Hebrew Bible and that's not upheld currently and all of the other stuff. The Bible is a weird place.
Also, the NASB, I believe, I'm double checking, edited all the times the word rape is used. Like literally rape is used in the New Independent Version, for example.
Really? They took it
in
out?
A lot of verses. Yeah, they just change it to things like, hang on, I'll find out. Let's see what it says. Version. Deuteronomy 22, 28 through 29. If you can find that, I'll stick to NASB and we'll read the difference. Like they literally take out that verse even when it's understood to be that verse. Yeah, okay. Do you have it up? Do you have Deuteronomy 22:28 and then the NIV up?
Oh, you want me to do the 22? Yeah, I can go to that one. 28, yeah.
I want to read the differences between them. And MAGA, we still want to talk to you. We got 54 minutes. I just looked at my watch isn't on. We have 54 minutes to talk to you guys. If you want to talk, we can talk.
NIV says rape.
Yeah, go ahead and read it. And then I want to read to you the way they change it. Read 28 through 28 and 29. Read it all the way out.
If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives.
Which is funny because a lot of people like that one does say must. A lot of people like, I think it's the KJV, which says may, the father may marry the person off. So even the level of like slavery this is becoming, because that was Ray Comfort's defense of the verse. No father would ever do that. No father would. And yes, they absolutely would. In that time, in that culture, your daughter is now unmarriable because you're considered not a virgin if you are raped. Anyway, here's the difference where they use the word rape. NASB purposely avoids the word. If a man finds a girl who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and has sexual relations with her, when you seize and then have sexual relations and they are discovered, then the man who had sexual relations with her shall give her father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall become his wife. So this one's a commandment too, actually, because he has violated her. He is not allowed to divorce her all his days. So it's they literally avoid, they just won't use the word rape. By the way, they actually use rape in NASB in the verses before that, but in that one, they switch it. They use it even though the language is the same in the Bible in the verses before. Here they use it. And people love these verses because they think they're actually saying rape is wrong. And pay attention. But if the man finds the girl who's betrothed in the field and the man seizes her and rapes her, then only the man who raped her shall die. And you are not to do anything to the girl. There is no sign the girl is worthy of death. For just as a man rises against his neighbor and murders him, so this is the case. When he found her in the field, the betrothed girl cried out, but there was, when he found her in the field, the betrothed girl cried out, but there was no one to save her. So, there are two things about this. It's actually in the verses prior. Whether or not you are raped in the Bible is based on whether or not you cry out. Literally, That's it. If you if you didn't cry for help, whatever the reason is, you couldn't, you were terrified, shocked, whatever, then it's not rape. That's established in these verses. Also established in these verses, Christians, Bible believers, MAGA people, this is your book. Also established in these verses is, remember, the difference between this case where it's rape on this one and in verse 28 it was rape also, but that person wasn't killed, was the fact that they were betrothed to another man. They were already promised to another man. So you are only put to death for rape in Deuteronomy if that rape harms another man. Otherwise, it's fine. Otherwise, that's a way to get yourself a wife. If you know they're not promised yet, and you go and rape a girl, now you get the wife. Anyway, the Bible's superior to secular humanism.